Hey friends, welcome back to Reimagine Founder, the podcast. I'm your host and nonprofit coach, Brianna Lachelle, and today we have a really special guest. She's going to be talking to us about her organization and her experience in the Legacy Launcher Group Cohort. So it is with my great honor, Abby Merhege. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Yes. Okay, so let's just dive right in. First, I would love for you to tell everyone about your organization, the Youth Athlete Project. Tell us how it got started, what it's about, and all those things. Also, right off the bat, I just want to let you know that I will be putting all the connections for you to be able to connect with Abby and her organization in case you want to donate or if you're local and want to join as a volunteer. It is an outstanding organization. I've loved getting to see it kind of bloom. So, Abby, take it away. Go ahead, tell us all about it.
Yeah, so the Youth Athlete Project aims to create safer environments throughout youth sports in New Mexico by making them free from abusive coaching and also providing mental health support for young athletes. We were founded this year, so we're new. And it really started because of my own experiences within youth sports. I'm 19, so I'm a younger founder, but I'm also closer to the issue. I was in youth sports not that long ago, and I had really positive experiences that really shaped who I am as a person today and like deepened my core values. And I really appreciated them for what they were. But I also had some really negative experiences just due to like a culture of abuse and stigma around mental health within youth sports as a whole that honestly like led to me developing like a really serious struggle with mental illness. And as I began my own recovery from that, I met others who had shared similar experiences within youth sports. And we kind of came to this conclusion that youth sports had a really incredible potential to transform lives and be a really positive thing for youth in our community. But they just weren't living up to that potential because of the abuse and stigma that surrounded youth sports in New Mexico. And so from there, we got together and we decided that this was something that was needed in our community. And yeah, here we are.
Yeah, that's completely incredible. I also feel like extra bonded to Abby because I was also a young founder when I started my organization. So I really relate to the struggles that can kind of bring up being a young founder. What's been some of the lessons that you've learned as starting this process? So, first, actually, tell us where you are in the process of starting your nonprofit, and then what has been some of the things that you've kind of learned or things that you've run into that has been hard, easy. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, so where we are in the process, we are still in the beginning, but we're moving sort of towards the more like I'd say like intermediate stages because we filed all of our paperwork and we're starting to become more established within our community. We have like an organization set up within our organization, so it's nice to be a little bit more foundational while still very new and learning a lot.
Right.
Um, Things I've learned so far, I feel like I've learned a lot. Like, I did not know the first thing about starting a nonprofit when I started. I had volunteered for nonprofits before, but that's a very different role than actually like running one yourself.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of legal jargon that I didn't know that I kind of had to become equipped with very quickly. Um, and I would say that was one of the biggest struggles was everything felt so like exclusive. Like it felt like people didn't want you to know the information that was
Mm.
required to start a nonprofit. You know, there wasn't any like easy tutorials of how to file your 1023 form. There wasn't readily accessible information. And so it felt like, okay, if the information's not there, maybe like I'm not meant to do it. So
Yeah.
that was like a really big struggle in the beginning. Um, I remember there was one conversation when I decided that I was going to do this. Um, I started reaching out to CPAs, which are like accountants who deal with a lot of nonprofits, and I had a phone call with one of them, and he basically told me he was like, the odds of this happening are very, very low. Like, I don't see a world where the like IRS approves your organization, but if you work with me, like I definitely will make it happen, and it's going to be like something crazy, like $5,000 a month or something. And I was like, I can't do that. Like I
Right.
physically can't do that. So that was like a big struggle, was realizing that there were people, because what he said wasn't true. Like that was the
Yeah.
thing. He was trying to get my business. So that was a big struggle in the beginning, was recognizing that there was like a lot of like legal barriers that weren't even really barriers, but just
Right.
trying to keep people like almost out of the game in like the nonprofit world. And so that was a big struggle. Um, Something that I've like really enjoyed through this process though is like how supportive people have been, even those who don't like understand it. Um, my family's been really supportive, and like just my friends and outer circle who don't, they don't entirely get why we're doing it sometimes,
Right.
but they're supportive of me, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, no. I think that that's like one of the biggest struggles that people run into when they talk to me about, wanting to start a nonprofit, is that it feels so inaccessible. And it like makes me really sad that you had someone tell you that the odds of starting a nonprofit was like so slim unless you worked with them, because that's just completely untrue if we're being
Yeah.
honest. Um I mean, obviously, yes, there are some like huge perks of working with professionals and getting like that seasoned
Hmm.
support, but there's not just one way to start an organization. And I think for so long people have fell into this idea that um it's one way or the highway, and that's just not true. And
Right.
that's what I really love about, this new generation, and especially like this like 21st century um idea of nonprofits, is that information is so accessible in ways that it's never been
Hmm.
before. And really, I feel like your generation is so much more like, we're not going to do it the way that you've done it, because the way that you've done it's kind of broken, so we're going to do it our way and we're going to figure it out, and if you tell us we can't, then we're going to do it and we're going to do it better. Which I really love the
Yeah.
tenacity of that. Because lots of people, like, as soon as they heard that, they would have just been like, oh, well, I guess I'm not doing it then. And so, like, the fact that you even
Hmm.
continued and kept going, I feel like is a huge thing within itself. Like, I really applaud you in that aspect, because it definitely is hard if you are figuring it all out by yourself and you're also the founder, so you're in charge of like running this organization, right? So,
Yeah.
um, along with that, I know you have joined Legacy Launcher, the group cohort that I host. And so I'd love to hear about your experience there, and kind of just like what that experience has been like for you, and if it's helped alleviate some of those like misinformation problems that you were talking about, and like what that has looked like.
Yeah. Joining Legacy Launcher was honestly, I think about it every time I think about anything related to my nonprofit. And I'm just so thankful and grateful that I, not only that I joined, but also that we somehow got connected on, social media like
Right.
those months ago. Because when I think about Legacy Launcher, it just gives me like a feeling of like safety and security when it comes
Mm.
to like my nonprofit and what I'm doing as a founder, because I just have like a sounding board with you who has like, expertise and knowledge that I can like, if I don't know what I'm doing, you are someone who knows what she's doing. And so I can check with you. And then there's also the group component of it, which is where, okay, when I feel alone and like I'm struggling in this alone, I'm really not, because there's, all these other people who are also going through the exact same thing. And that has been like kind of, I don't know, invaluable for me in this process. I don't know if I would be as far along in the process of starting this organization had I not joined the like group cohort and legacy launcher. So I'm really grateful for it. It's also really cool to be able to see like what other people are doing like in different parts of
Yeah.
the country. Um, I just feel really like inspired every time we get off of a call. And when I feel inspired and seeing other people like doing their work, that makes me want to do my work like even better. So that's another piece of it that I'm really grateful for.
Yeah, so when we first started this, I wasn't sure if I was going to do the group component for like future iterations. Like Legacy Launcher definitely started as like a self-study course, and like being with our inaugural group right now has just given me so much inspiration because one, it's so cool, like you said, to see so many different founders in like the beginning stages of their organization and seeing them cast like such huge vision, the nonprofits that they have on their hearts, and then watching you guys like actually take steps and start doing the work to do it has been like really cool. I've loved getting to just like see you guys interact with each other and like see like what community really does for a group of people who
Mm-hmm.
are like doing something that's kind of like out of the ordinary, right? Like you don't meet someone every day that is starting a nonprofit. And so like I think back to when I was starting my organization, like I would have loved to have other people like on that journey with me. Even more so, I would have
Yeah.
loved to see people like my age, like similar to me in that aspect, which is
Mm-hmm.
another thing that I really love. Like we have kind of like a variety of age groups, but it is really nice to see some of the like younger founders like, still in college who are like figuring it out. Like, I think of you and I think of Grace, and it's just like, really cool seeing you guys take this huge project and like, actually do the work. So that's been like really fun for me to get to experience that with you guys, especially since I didn't have that when I was starting my organization.
And that's been like a huge thing. Even seeing you and like knowing about your journey, like you founded your nonprofit when you were 16.
Yeah,
That like that to me was proof that okay, she was 3 years younger than me. So and she made it work. She did it.
yeah,
So like I can do it. So having people you can look to who have done it, and then also people who are actively doing it, who are like,
right. In it
in a
with you.
similar group to you. Yeah, it's really helpful, and it makes it a little less scary.
Yeah, yeah. So, what would you tell the person who's listening right now and they're like thinking, man, I have this thing on my heart that's I'm like really passionate about. And like, I've thought about the nonprofit thing, but it feels really scary. It feels really like out of reach. I'm not sure that I could do it. They're listening to your story. What would you tell them?
I would say just do it because the worst thing that happens is it doesn't work out. And I know that sounds scary because as someone who is like so afraid of failure and like so like perfectionist minded, it sounds scary to have this thing that might not work out. But at the end of the day, it also might work out. And if you don't even try, that's already it's already not going to happen. So either
Right,
way, like you're setting yourself up for success more and giving yourself more of a chance to let this organization like do the work you know is necessary and you want to do. You're setting it up for success more even if you just try. And even if you try and it doesn't work, that's still that's still work that's being done to like advance the message you want to be heard like throughout your community. And so like I would say just do it because the worst thing that happens is it doesn't work out. And even then, like you're still gaining experience and knowledge and you're still helping someone. So
right.
yeah, I mean, just yeah, it's scary, like, but like let go of the need for perfection, like let go of like the fear of it failing and just like really do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were talking about this at our last call is that like
Mm-hmm.
the things with like founders, you're like a visionary, right? So like you have this idea in your head of like the 20-year vision of your nonprofit. But that 20-year vision doesn't happen without like year one, right? It doesn't happen
Right.
without you like starting and doing the work and like actually trying. And so if you never like take that first step, then you can never get to that like big future vision.
Yeah. And that's another thing is just like we were talking about this in our last call at Legacy Launcher, but just let it be messy, like let it be
Yeah.
flawed and imperfect. And that is going to be like the biggest like key to success because ultimately I think when I started this back in January, I had this idea that it was all going to work out and like be beautiful and like smooth like right away. And it's been quite literally the opposite. But like I think I found a lot of value in the mess, honestly, because it's taught me a lot and it's also like it's more realistic.
Yeah.
Like the world doesn't need to see you be perfect. It needs to see you be flawed and human. And that is that's another thing I've appreciated from like the group aspect of Legacy Launcher is, seeing everybody in like their messy stages, like it inspires me more than seeing like a perfect nonprofit that's been established for 20 years.
Yeah, yeah. I love that too because like you can really like learn and grow when you're in the middle, but if you hold yourself to the standard of
Mm-hmm.
that you're going to hold yourself to in like 20 years, then you kind of like miss the opportunity to like figure it out, right? Cuz for example, you came in with kind of like the beginning stages of the nonprofit starting, which is also I'll come back to this, but like, you had already filed your paperwork, you had already found your board when you started Legacy Launcher. And then we have some people who just had the idea. And so y'all are
Mm-hmm.
like working on like different levels. And so it's, I think y'all are getting a lot, and correct me if I'm wrong, but y'all are getting a lot from each other, even at those different stages of seeing
Yes.
where someone is, how they're trying to kind of figure things out. And then I feel like there's a lot that every person in the group kind of gets from each other and also like provides to the group because of whatever stage that they're in and where their heads at, you know, like they're able to provide feedback and ideas that like, someone who might be like further down the road just doesn't have. They don't remember it, right? When you're in the
Yeah.
beginning stages and you're in it together, like you know what it feels like to be in the beginning. So like advice and things that you're giving each other, it looks totally different than someone who's 20 years down the line who doesn't remember what it's like to have just started their organization.
Yeah. I mean, that's been really on both sides. Like, it's been really helpful for me. I feel like because I was a little more down the line in the process of starting it,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's some things where I can tell people this feels scary. Like, it feels scary, like filing the form with the IRS, but like, it's not. Just, make sure you have these things and it'll be fine. And on the other side, I feel like I'm able to go back and reevaluate some of the choices I made in the more beginning stages of my nonprofit when I wasn't in the class yet, because we're
Mm-hmm.
learning about it and I'm seeing how the other founders are doing it. And I'm going back and I'm saying, okay, well, maybe we change this about our mission statement. Maybe we change this about our volunteer structure. And so it's a good opportunity to like reevaluate and really make sure that everything we're doing is the best we're able to do with the resources we have right now.
Right. Yeah. So I love that you said that because my question was going to be, do you feel like the group has still been beneficial to you, even though you did come in with a lot of those beginning stages already, you know, in place? You had already filed your paperwork before the group even started.
Mm-hmm.
So do you still feel like that there was value for you, even though you weren't at that beginning idea stage?
Oh, like 100%. I've changed so many things about our organization since I joined Legacy Launcher. And again, like I just feel more secure. Like in
Mm,
this class, I feel like I'm able to make choices going forward with a greater like heightened sense of security and knowing that I'm like making the right choice. Um, yeah, like I've gone back and reevaluated a lot of different things, and I also just feel like I have more insight as to why I'm doing certain things and why I'm making certain choices. Because a lot of times when you're starting a nonprofit, you just do what you do because you're told like that's how you have to do it.
right.
Um, but like in this class, like I've learned, okay, this is why we craft a mission statement. This is why we map out like what it looks like for our volunteers and our board members. Like this is why we do those things because this is the impact they're going to have later down the road. And so I appreciate that insight as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that. I'm glad that it's been beneficial to you, because that was also like just being completely transparent as a coach. Like, I knew that the information that I was providing was valuable, but I did have a little bit of worry for me, especially for you, knowing that, like, hey, you've already started. You were on the ground running. We had connected before the group launched and had been giving you some information and checking in with you, but you were doing the work by yourself. So that's also the thing is that you don't need a coach. You don't need someone there to give you the information to be able to start an organization. Do I think it's helpful? 100%. Do I think that there's value in having someone who's been there, done that? Do I think that there's value in being with a group who's in the same space as you? 100%. But if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't want to have someone do this with me, then I mean, you can definitely do it by yourself. But I was wondering like, how that experience was going to be for you because you
Hmm.
had already started doing all the steps. Like there was nothing. I definitely think that some of the modules you said might have like, put more things in perspective because there is a list of things that you have to do to start a nonprofit, right? And you just like get
Right.
them done because they have to be done. But I think I'm glad that there was value in you understanding, oh, this is why we're doing this, or like, oh, this is how I can take this beginning stage of something and bring it throughout my organization. Because I
Hmm.
think that's another thing that we forget when we were first starting an organization. I tell people all the time that, like when you're 1 and 2, you're running. And as a founder, you're doing a little bit of everybody's job, right?
Yeah.
But then as you grow and you get bigger, sometimes you can forget the mission statement, the legacy statement, the beginning foundational stuff that you started with. And if you're not
Hmm.
intentionally taking those things with you and making it at the forefront of your mind, of your organization, and of your team, then you can forget the roots that might have been really important in starting your organization. So like that's something that I try to help like, highlight throughout the course is like, okay, you have these things, but don't just make them because you have to have them. Make them because they're important, because they matter to you.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's like really helpful too.
Yeah. And that was honestly, that's been one of the challenges for me is like imagining our organization like 10 years in the future
Yeah,
because we are like in the beginning
a
stages
baby.
and it feels crazy to think that far. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Um but like you talk a lot about it in the course is like, okay, I mean, we map out like where we want to be in 20 years. And I think
Yeah.
it's like allowed me to like dream a little bigger and like expand my vision of like what this nonprofit could look like.
Yeah. It's also been like really fun for me personally getting to talk to you because so you won that free coaching session and since
Hmm.
we're local, we got to go in person. And when I was asking you, I'm like, okay, like what does the future of this thing look like? Like what's your big dream? And I remember you came to me and you're like, "Oh yeah, I would just like to be in like, like the Albuquerque schools." And I'm like, is that really the dream or is that as big as you've allowed yourself to dream, right? And I think that that's also a really important thing is like when you're starting an organization, so many people in love might like tell you to play it small, but I really love getting to be a space where like, you founders can go big and go kind of like, crazy. Like,
Hmm.
what is the real dream, right? Is it global? Is it across the state? Is it across the country? What does this look like for you? And whatever that dream is, whether it stays really small or if it gets really big, if that's your deepest desires, then beautiful. But also don't play yourself short, right? And I think that
Yeah.
was been really fun for me with you specifically is watching you slowly start to dream more and get a little bit bigger and a
Yeah.
little bit braver and a little bit bolder about what you want your nonprofit to look like. And that's been really fun because as you've gotten a little bit bolder, I've seen like your planning and the things that you're starting to put into place become more geared toward that bigger vision, and it makes me really excited for you.
Yeah. I mean, I think it goes back to what I was saying, like the fear of failure. In the
Yeah.
beginning, I was like, I can't set a bigger, like, goal or dream because if I don't achieve it, then, what's the point? But at the end of the day, like, it's not something that we teach, like, in our curriculum to athletes, within our organization is that setting goals is valuable, but they're guidelines, they're not deadlines. And I think that's
Yeah.
something that I've like applied myself. It's like I can have these goals and these dreams, and it's not a requirement. It's just something that I can use to like I don't know, launch myself towards whatever I want to. And I'm the one setting them. I don't have to feel pressure. It's more about feeling the opportunity. And one of the other founders in the class, she was talking about how like during these like beginning stages, she just really likes the opportunity, like to dream. Like
Yeah.
she wants to dream. She wants the people in her life to just let her dream about, what this could look like. And I've been thinking about that a lot like this past week because I'm not sure I've done enough of that. So that's something I'm working on.
Yeah. No, I think we were having that conversation last week and um I highly encourage you and anybody listening to be dreaming, especially as a founder of something like a nonprofit. You give so much of yourself to your organization,
Mm-hmm.
um, that and when you're in founder mode, sometimes you have to be the captain. You have to be executing, you have to be steering, you have to be
Yeah.
guiding everyone. But I think it's just as important to be dreaming and to be the visionary too. And so if you don't have vision for your organization, if you're not dreaming and letting new things like get you excited, then sometimes it gets really hard to steer and be the captain. And so you have to have both, right? Like you can't do too much dreaming that
Yeah.
you're not like putting anything into place, but you also have to like give yourself the opportunity to be like, wow, that would be really cool, that makes me excited, I wonder if we could do that, you know. And
Yeah.
having a journal or like having dream dates or things like that are really cool opportunities for you, either by yourself or with like, people that you really trust, to just sit and like be really wild. Like if anything could happen, if there was like no barriers to entry, if you knew for sure that this thing could happen, what would you dream? And the things that sometimes come up, you'll be like, whoa, I didn't know I wanted to do that, but yeah, that sounds cool. And so
Yeah.
yeah, it just gives you the opportunity to grow in a different way, and it can help lead you and the decisions that you make for your organization moving forward once you have that vision, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it's a hard balance because you
Yeah,
need the logistics, but you also, I mean, the dream is the reason you're doing it in the first place. So you need
right.
both, and it's hard to balance them, but I think that's a skill that I'm picking up on like within the class.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Okay, so Abby, any last things that you would like to tell us about your experience in the course, about your nonprofit, about where you are? What are some closing statements that you have for anybody who's listening and taking in your story, just trying to figure out, what their next steps might be?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just want to speak directly to people who, are thinking about starting a nonprofit or any type of like advocacy work. Like truly, it gets so complicated and there's so many choices to be made, but like just think about who you're serving and who you want to be serving. For me, it's kids and youth and sports, and it's easy for me to connect with them because I was them. But like just truly like take a moment and like reflect on who you want to help and why you want to help them, and then go from there. And for me, that looked like joining Legacy Launcher and starting this nonprofit. And I think for a lot of people that is like a really good step to take. And if it's not, like that's okay, but just like really make sure that your values and your choices are aligned with who you want to be helping and serving in our community.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. So, Abby, I would love for you to tell everybody, especially if you're local to the Albuquerque, New Mexico area, what are ways that people can support Youth Athletic Project or get involved with your organization?
Yeah, so we have a few. One of them is by volunteering. We need volunteers. We're a new nonprofit, so you can get connected. All our stuff will be linked, but our website has a place for you to get involved with volunteering. Our social media, so our Instagram, primarily, and our Facebook has a space to get involved with volunteering. We are also always looking for donations in order to like make our work possible. So if you're an individual who wants to donate, like we truly appreciate like any and all amount. If you have a local business, like we would appreciate your support. Again, all of this is linked on our website and socials. And then if you are a part of like a youth athletic team, or if you're a youth athletic coach, that's where most of our work is happening right now, is partnering with youth teams throughout our state. So if you'd like to get involved and learn what we're doing, our curriculum is designed with the advisement of licensed sports psychologists and mental health counselors. So we really uh, appreciate the opportunity to spread our curriculum and our message to any team and athlete. So if you are part of those teams, like again, reach out through our website, through our social media. We would really appreciate like any and all support.
Yeah. And I would like to mention, if you are a coach or a leader of some type of sports team, what I really love about what Abby's organization is doing is that they aren't coming towards you with a place of blame. They're coming with
Mm-hmm.
in a space of collaboration, right? So obviously the topic that they are advocating against is can feel kind of heavy, and especially I know some of our coaches probably heard, you know, abusive coaching and they got a little offensive, but I've gotten to hear a lot about what they're doing and how they're approaching this, and they really are coming from it with a space of love and respect. And the aspect of is that you know, abusive coaching in general has become a type of, you know, atmosphere that coaching like that the sports world has developed, and that's no single individual's part. And so they want to partner with coaches
Mm-hmm.
and team and students to make sure that go moving forward those practices aren't there, and not from a place of like trying to punish coaches or punish individuals for a system that they didn't create, right? So I'd highly encourage that
Yeah.
if you're listening to this and you are intrigued, to reach out to Abby and her team. She has some great curriculum based off of, you know, like she said, licensed psychologist, and it's really a great curriculum. So I highly encourage you. Don't let the topic scare you off. Get involved. It's really good work that they're doing.
Yeah. I always tell the coaches like we work with, like, once you know better, you do better, because it's a culture, it's not an individual's fault. So we
Right.
prioritize collaboration over punitive measures. And I think the coaches we've worked with so far have been like really honestly really incredible. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity they've given us to work with their teams.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, Abby, thank you so much for joining. I have absolutely loved our conversation. I love getting to coach you in Legacy Launcher. Friends, if you would like to connect with Abby and her team, I highly recommend that. All of their links are going to be in the description. And if you're interested in joining Legacy Launcher, one of the cohorts, one will be opening up soon, and I will make sure to have all that information linked on the bottom, as well as how you can get in contact with me if you need coaching or support with your nonprofit dreams. We have just loved having Abby on and getting to hear more about her experience. So I hope you've enjoyed, and we will catch you guys next time. Bye.